Alright, so as you all know, we are fully into what's been dubbed as the Link format at this point, and obviously it's caused a lot of problems with certain decks. Obviously, as you know, many of you know, certain decks are dead. I really can't play zombies right now without making through Omega. It promotes these weird things, and I've talked about that in other videos, but today I'm going to be talking about what links could actually do well for the game. And I think this is actually a really interesting opportunity Konami has, where, because of the genericness of links, they could actually fix some decks that have never worked in the past with it. With Synchro, XYZ, and Pendulum, they were all specific mechanics. With XYZ it was levels, Synchros obviously was levels and you needed tuners, and Pendulums was less generic but obviously worked better with some things than others. But links, because they're essentially Synchros without tuners, and can require, at the least just 2 monsters, even tokens, it actually provides a great opportunity where Konami could fix certain decks with as little as 1 card. Now, as an example for all this, I'm actually going to be using Fortune Ladies because it's one of my favorite decks, kind of, art-wise. I like where they were going with it, but they never actually finished it or did anything well with it. So Fortune Ladies, if you don't know, they're an old deck from the 5Ds era, and they essentially do nothing. They have a few cards that work well together, and most of the cards barely even work themselves, let alone with each other. But there are some combos the deck has. The only problem is they take, at some points, even up to 2 turns of setup, which, as you know, really can't stand up in how the game is today, even with links. So the main combo of the deck is you can, if you have a Fortune Lady Water Engrave, its effect is, if it's special summoned to the field, by the effect of a Fortune Lady, you can draw 2 cards. Or a special summon to the field where you control a Fortune Lady, you can draw 2 cards. And the way you normally do that is with Fortune Lady Dark. Now she's a level 5, and when she destroys something by battle, you can special summon a Fortune Lady from your grave. So as you can see, it takes setup, it's at level 5, it needs a level 4 engrave, and there's no support, archetypal support that really helps them set that up. So players have been relying on different things to try and get it to work, Magical Dimension, just a whole bunch of cards that were really suboptimal. There's also Fortune Lady Light, which when it's removed from the field by a card effect, you can special one from your deck, but it has to be the card effect, it can't be cost or anything like that, and it has to happen, nothing can happen after it's removed from the field or else it misses timing. So they're a very limited archetype. But Konami can actually fix it with 1 card, not make it meta or anything, but actually fix it. And the way they could do this is, obviously it could just be a Link monster because it's generic, you could just make it with 2 cards, and then they could limit its effect to helping Fortune Lady so it wouldn't become generic. I've actually come up with a couple of them, but I'm going to be going over one of them today, which I'll put the effect on screen, but also go over it here. So the main thing is it would be 2+ effect monsters, and it would be a Link 2, obviously because it needs 2 monsters, with 2 diagonal arrows pointing downwards, just to obviously get things started, because if they just have 1, pointing down would obviously be the best thing for it. Now its effect on summon would be you can special summon a Fortune Lady monster from your deck. But this is where the limiting comes in. Obviously they have to put a clause in to say, but it can only be used for the summon of, or like Link summon of a Fortune Lady monster, couldn't be used as Synchro XYZ material, things like that, so it wouldn't be generic and, just help other decks go for a Link 3 easily. And then they could add a secondary effect where you could make 1 monster your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack by sending 1 Fortune Lady monster from your field to the grave, which would trigger Light's effect. So you could summon this card, just using any 2 monsters like Gofu, Brilliant Fusion, things like that. Special out of Light, use her effect to send it, special out of Dark, then you have your Dark, which can actually swing over something now because it's only 2k attack, but you reduce the attack to something else, so it has a large chance of being able to actually swing over something now, and you have that ready to go to actually special something back from grave. Obviously this doesn't set up a water grave, but there are other ways to do that. So obviously, as you can see, just with 1 card, Konami can actually make archetypes, old archetypes like these that have never worked, actually work before. And I obviously didn't cover it super well and didn't explain it very well, but I never explain anything very well. But that's just kind of an example of what they could do. Now I think there's definitely a lot of decks that could use something like that. Just off the top of my head, there's so many decks that have never worked. I'm planning on doing something with Reactor soon for like a worst deck of all time. Obviously they've never worked, but there's this massive number of old archetypes that Konami can provide this legacy support to in the form of Link monsters because of how generic and fast they are to actually make them work, which would be something very cool for, just for the players. Obviously, it's not something meta players want to see, and I'm kind of in between, so you know, obviously they don't want to be taking up space in sets for cards that, you know, no one's going to want, but it would be something cool they could even do with side sets or just one a set, just something where they could actually, you know. But anyway, I'm just rambling at this point about who knows what. So I'm going to end it here. But yeah, I just wanted to get this out there and kind of just put this thought out there. If you guys have any ideas for other things like this, you can leave them down in the comments below. I'm just sounding like a generic vlogger now, so I'm going to go. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. It's also weird. I've never actually started a video with other people around.
Don't worry, just act like I'm not here. Except I'll probably be chiming in every few minutes, but